Welcome back to week 3 of our Sew Trees quilt along. Last week we already cut all those pieces and now we can really start with sewing the large trees. So have you ever made a flying geese unit? Then you are well prepared, because the same is true for piecing the single strips for each tree. So let's jump right in and I show you how I prepared my background pieces.
Christmas tree.
Laid out all my pieces for the large tree block, neatly labeled. Well, I love it when it's so well organized that my fingers instantly start itching. Now you see this is part A, and then we have all the parts to form the tree. They get longer and longer, while the background pieces get a little bit shorter each time. And we have cut the double amount of E pieces. Why? Because E will later also frame our little stem here, which we, by the way, will do in a different fabric to have a little bit contrast here. So, if you have ever made a flying geese unit, which would look like this part of the tree, then you know how to do it. We take our piece C and want to frame it with the B strips. So, you know, later it has to look like that. When I later want to flip it back, so right sides onto each other, you see I have a diagonal line from this corner to that one, a 45-degree line. I mark that line. So for the other half, which comes here, and when I flip that over, I can clearly see my diagonal line has now the opposite direction. That means you will prepare all your background strips B, E, G and I with those opposite diagonal lines as a reference when we go to the sewing machine and start really sewing. I carefully place my background piece so that both edges are congruently matching. Now, before sewing on the next piece, I give that one a good finger press for now. So I can just go forward with the next one. This is your excess fabric, which then will be trimmed off. But instead of doing it right now, we leave it on first, because it gives us a good guideline for this upper edge to place congruently, so we make sure everything is aligned. Imagine we wouldn't have this helper. You could accidentally press it like that, and it's not a straight edge, but this guideline makes sure that we are now really aligned and straight. First strip perfectly done. Now we trim off excess fabric. You can do that either using your ruler with a 1/4 inch, or if you are not that exactly and make it a little bit easier, you can eyeball your seam allowance and just cut it off. Either way is fine. Do all the strips, the 4 strips for our tree, in the same manner. As for your stem, you insert that one just with a 1/4 inch seam and press the seam allowance towards the stem. Now when you have all the parts of the tree finished, we can assemble the block. We have piece A here for the top and piece K for the bottom. And you just sew together all the strips with a scant 1/4 inch seam. Actually, that's a pretty easy job to do, nothing special. You just want to take care of that tip here, so you don't want to cut it off. It's better to sew your unit from that side and you have control on the crossing seam here. So we will press all the seam allowances towards the top. Only the last seam will be pressed towards the bottom. Your first tree is done. That was quick and easy, and I personally had a lot of fun sewing this tree when everything is so well organized and neatly displayed. In the same manner, you will now sew the other 4 trees. And don't forget to post your progress on Instagram with the hashtag #SewTreesQAL to win a prize. And we will see each other next week when we then start to sew all the small trees.